Level Up with Lighthouse is back. Level Up with Lighthouse is in person. I've got two great friends ready to talk tech talent this week. Let's get into it. The last few months here at Lighthouse Technology Services, we've been really taking the time to define what makes us the place for technology talent. And now Level Up is coming back as the show where we can tell those stories, bring in our friends from across this amazing tech and business community, and help people find the technology and talent solutions that'll help them level up in their own business as well. So thanks for coming along and sharing this journey with us. First guest on this episode coming back today is Mary Ruelle from TechBuffalo. Mary's a longtime friend of mine, and she's done some incredible work in the community. We talk a lot about her new role as the Director of Strategic Talent Initiatives. Mary's been really involved on the higher education front, especially with some of their college programs, making sure students see what the experience is like to live and work in Buffalo. And now really interesting opportunity now for TechBuffalo to extend their programming beyond the college scope into the K-12 realm. Mary's got a really deep background in higher education administration and collaboration and bringing diverse perspectives and really interesting people together to make those creative collaborations that we love here in Buffalo. And then after that, we don't just want this to be a Q&A podcast. We're coming up with some fun segments that we can kind of mix in here and there. So I'm excited to bring on Brenda from our recruiting team. Brenda runs our talent managed services here at Lighthouse, and she's been here about 7 years and just a wonderful, caring, empathetic, hardworking leader as well. We're in person. Look at this place. Let's do it. Hey, Mary. Awesome to have you here. How you doing?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
Good. Say hi to everyone at home.
Hello.
So, Mary, we've known each other a really long time. Let's go back to 2013.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Summer 2013.
Mary and I did our first internship together.
Yes.
And marketing back in college.
Yep.
Do you remember anything from back in those days? Like, what did you learn about when you were in
Well,
that internship?
yeah. So, I mean, that was like one of my first, if not my very first professional experience, right? And I remember being at the the business park, and we had our cubicles next to each other in the back, and just trying to it's so hard to know what to soak in when you're a student, right? And you're in that professional environment for the first time. And I also remember thinking it was a really cool space because they had a foosball table, and they had, you know what I'm saying? Some of those kind of fun elements that you now see at tech companies really often, right?
They're just ubiquitous.
Yeah, right.
Totally.
But yeah, I remember writing a lot of blog posts. Blogs were very big at the time. Not that they're not big now, but in 2013, writing a lot of blogs. Right. Doing a lot of market research, which was really interesting. You did a lot of SEO and stuff, right?
Yeah, that was writing landing pages. And can you fit the phrase roofing replacement Rochester 20 times in a landing page? And then it just got stuffed at the bottom of the website. And now everything's evolved so much since then too. But I really valued beyond the actual doing things that my supervisor, shout out Lee, took the time to just have workshop sessions with me and whiteboard and just kind of go over the basics of SEO and how everything works. And I'm okay, this kind of feels like I'm back in a class, but this is also great too, because I'm not just doing things that the company needs me to do. I'm understanding what goes into it. And we were working together and getting to build those relationships and things like that. Yeah. And now, how many years later, here we are recording the podcast together and doing so much work together.
I know.
And all those things come back full circle.
It's really cool. I mean, I love that though. A part of these, a really good internship experience has those elements, right? Where you're not just, doing busy work. You're not just kind of, I say it a lot, getting coffee and making copies, filing papers. You're really there to learn and get those hard skills, on site that you're not always going to get in the classroom. And so that's a really special manager for someone who's going to take the time to turn that workspace into a classroom and to be able to say, hey, here's what you need to know, and here's how you're going to implement it in real time here. I all internships should be like that.
Yeah. It's a really neat process, and you've got to do it a couple times now with TechBuffalo. We were just talking about when we started here, getting into interns to help out with different events and programming and all those things. Congrats on your new promotion, Director of Strategic Talent Initiatives.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, tell me about that. What are you looking forward to? What are you working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited to be taking this next step with TechBuffalo. So, I've been with TechBuffalo for like 3 years just had my work
Time flies.
anniversary. It
Yeah.
really does. And we started here at about the same time,
Sure
working
did.
in Seneca 1. So it's been really exciting to see, the programming really grow. TechBuffalo as an organization really grow from true infancy to the stage of growth and maturation. And I would say like the scaling stage that we're at now. So, my job, my day to day is really going beyond the college work I was doing. So as the higher education program lead, my whole scope was college talent retention. How are we attracting that tech talent here? How are we retaining that tech talent here? Working with our local colleges, working with local businesses who had internship programs. And primarily that was through our PowerUpTech program, which works to create this experience for interns that help them build their professional network, that community, help them develop their hard and soft professional skills, and showcase Buffalo as the place that they can live, work, and play, have that life after graduation. For, a short summer, that's a tall order. And, as we're entering our third year of that, and as I'm, moving into this new role, we're really at a point where we can start to look at what does the entire tech talent pipeline look like, and knowing that it doesn't start at college. It starts well before college, and it doesn't start while someone is in a career. It can evolve as someone is in a career, but if you really want to build a strong, a robust, a really talented pipeline of workers and employees, you have to start early with that exposure. And so my new role is going to be going, beyond just that college piece and really overseeing, what is that thread that we're drawing between what we're doing in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, and beyond. The ideal situation is that someone spends, 10 plus years with TechBuffalo over their educational career and into their professional career. So I'm really pumped about a lot of that programming that we have coming up.
That's awesome. And it's such a cool journey to like be able to own all of that. We look at it a lot in our recruiting work. Like we look at talent pipelines that you might meet someone first, meet someone for a coffee or at a networking event, or as you're sourcing for a certain job, and like that relationship starts there. But that's something that can build for 10, 20 years.
Absolutely.
If you're a recruiter working with someone, you might help them find one assignment, go on to the next one. It is really important work to like look at that whole holistic journey and all those different touch points right there. What kind of programming can you build? How are you communicating with people? Things like that. Wanted to ask about the college part because like PowerUpTech now going on to third year.
Year 3.
Really like that's kind of where things seem like they've been established. What's kind of like the makeup of that program? Because I imagine there's probably students who are going to school in Buffalo and now they're like, hey, Buffalo's really cool. I want to intern here. I want to stay here. How many of those are also like students who are from Buffalo? Maybe they go to college away. They're having really like formative experiences. They come back home for the summer. They find a job. You can show them Buffalo a little bit. What's kind of the experience like for students who are coming in to PowerUpTech, and what does that look like for them?
Yeah. So when we look at the class, I think I'll start by like describing the classes as a whole, right? So from a hometown standpoint, we typically see about 40% of our students who call Western New York home.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be Buffalo specifically, but I would say like the Buffalo Niagara region down to the Pennsylvania state line, that's what they call home. Another like 50-ish% go to school here. And then there's overlap between those groups of students that, are from Buffalo, went away, came back for a summer. I think though, everyone, no matter what where they call home, and no matter where they go to school, is at a really exciting point in their internship of discovery. They're discovering professionally what they're capable of, what they want to learn, and also what they don't like and what they don't want to keep doing, which I argue is just as important, if not more important, than figuring out what you do want to do.
100%.
And discovering what that life looks like, right? What does that community look like? How am I going to spend my time? And if you're from Western New York, you are, through our program, able to discover parts of Western New York that you might either, not have known about or just not have experienced before. And you're starting to see more than like, I can have more than just my childhood here. And then if you're not from the region originally, like you have even more of that opportunity for discovery to see what the whole thing could look like. The experiences that we try to provide the students to help them really get forward thinking. And should I talk to like the 3 events that we do,
Sure.
the programming that
Yeah,
we do?
great place to start. Yeah.
So we start the summer off with an event called College Career Community. C3 is what we call it
Nice.
internally, or
We
CC
love
cubed.
alliteration here. Yeah.
Yeah. College Career Community. So we start their whole summer off where they are engaged in a really interactive networking workshop. And they are up out of their seats. They're shaking hands. They're connecting on LinkedIn in real time. We're going to ask them to network all summer. Let's give you the practical skills to do it rather than just a presentation on here are things you should consider. From there, it's a little bit of a conference style event. So they have the opportunity then to pick either a LinkedIn session, a behavioral interviewing session, a technical interviewing session, or a resume building session where they can learn how they want to talk about their tech skills. This is especially important because we do get students that we would classify as tech aligned or tech enabled. They don't always think about themselves as having skills relevant to the tech industry. And part of our message is you absolutely do. And in order to be competitive as you move forward in your career and to really have those opportunities for growth, tech should absolutely be embedded
100%.
in everything that you do. Especially, I mean, and you've heard it 1,000 times with AI, everyone needs to become a prompt engineer. Everyone needs to be able to know how to use these tools. And so if we instill that thinking now, that only gives them that growth mindset when they go into their career of like, all right, I need to be thinking about the new tech skills that are developing and what's going to get me to the next level in my career. We typically see from the cohort of students, about a third of them are like computer science, IT, pure play tech. Yeah. A third of them are engineering, and STEM, like engineering and other STEM. And then a third of them are in like the business fields.
Nice.
So all of that is tech aligned, tech enabled. So giving them that opportunity to learn how to talk about those tech skills is really important to set the stage for how they engage with their internships and how they engage with our programming for the rest of the summer. Then the second part of that conference style event is the chance to attend panels and roundtables that focus on Buffalo's most prominent tech enabled industries. We hear from students a lot, oh, I can't work in tech in Buffalo. I have to go to the big city. I have to go to San Francisco. I have to go to New York. Yeah. And part of that is just the perception that we don't have big tech product companies here. We have Odoo, we have M&T Tech, which is fintech, but they're not seeing, the Googles, the Metas, the Amazons, where that to them is like, if I want to work in tech, I have to work for a big tech company.
Yeah, and they're thinking about products that they can feel that they use every day, Google.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So through these panels and these roundtables, we are connecting them with, experts in these tech-enabled fields that Buffalo is built on. So, tech and finance is one of them, tech and advanced manufacturing, tech and like entertainment in the food industry, tech and startups, like really focusing on the huge entrepreneurial ecosystem we have here. We're giving them the chance to discover and then to start to think about like, oh, this is a place I might work. So that's the first event. All that's packed into a half day, no problem.
We're just getting started.
Right, just getting started.
Yeah.
The second time we engage with them, we do we call it a tech design challenge. It's a blend between a hackathon and a business plan competition.
Nice.
And so we bring together nonprofit organizations in the region. We help them develop challenge statements that can have a tech solution. Then we bring all our interns together. We mix them up onto teams via skill set and where they're working. So they're really in these intentionally interdisciplinary teams, which is not unlike a team that you might work on in the future. You're in class right now that everyone's studying the same thing as you are. That's not quite how that life part works. So let's give you the chance to exercise those soft skills, really work on the team building and the skill sharing aspects of what you're going to be asked to do professionally. And come up with something over 2 days. And they're doing real work. They're the nonprofits that we've engaged with in the past for this event have used those solutions. Maybe not exactly how they were spelled out, but sure. They have used elements of it to help solve those problems. I can give you even a recent example. We worked with Journeys on Refugee Services last year.
Amazing group. Yeah.
It's such an incredible group. And their challenge statement was around helping refugees new to the region and also new to the English language use our local public transportation system. And they had paper guides. And they were like, we know that we can do better than this. And they had students develop, kind of like apps and other resources and things like that. what they ended up doing and what they took from it is they created like video instructions like for how to use the bus system. And it's really very cool. So, it's not exactly what those students designed, but very much inspired by those ideas. Nonprofits aren't going to have those tech people, right, to help develop those solutions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's give you a chance. Let's give these nonprofits a chance to get tailored consultation, from really innovative minds who are learning the newest of the new skills in tech. Let's give these students a chance to do some real work that they can feel good about. And let's make it a competition because that's fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Keeps the energy up.
Absolutely.
Keeps people going. Can I ask you in there, because something in there really clicked with me. You talked about the aspect of making a business plan or a business strategy within this as well, in addition to building the technology part.
Yeah.
And that's the key that I think from the outside, maybe looking at tech, is harder for students to grasp and things like that, especially when they're looking at tech companies and thinking about the tools they use every day. What a cool experience to be able to like understand the underlying principle of why they're building the technology, and then actually going and doing it as well. Like, was that really part of like the conscious design too, of like being able to experience why you're using tech to solve problems and like understanding the problems and helping students get that?
Absolutely. And I think it even goes beyond that a little bit. We're asking these nonprofits to kind of accept these tech ideas, right? They've also got to have like the financial plan and the marketing plan and the user implementation plan, to be able to do that. They're not always going to have that support. So to best serve their nonprofits who are bringing us these challenge statements, we wanted to ensure that they had a really comprehensive solution. It also, when you think about those students that are those pure play tech and then those tech aligned, it forces them to consider the two different perspectives. So if you are studying computer science and you are, very like you're coding all day, all night, you have to be able to explain what you're doing and why you did it to someone who doesn't have that skill set, right? And then from that sort of business lens, that business perspective, when you're thinking about the marketing, the sales, any kind of, tech product or tech solution that you would work with in, I'm going to say, quote, the real world. It is real world problems that they're working on.
So.
You have to be able then to translate the tech stuff, right? And deliver it to a client. So like there's a lot of communication skills being built around here as well. And that's what we want the students to think about, right? Is like, how do my skills meaningfully contribute to the tech industry? And that can be for a tech, that can be a tech role, that can be a tech company, that can be a tech initiative, that can even just be innovation and design thinking, and what that can lead to within a company, intrapreneurship.
Yeah.
And we're trying to create the environments where we're planting these seeds to help them think that way so they can understand better where their skills provide value specifically in Buffalo's tech ecosystem.
Like, I'm just like, mic drop. Done. Brenda. Oh my gosh.
Wrap it up.
So much there. And I'm like, no, there's like 3 other questions that I have, but like, I'm going to leave them for another time because like we need to like come back in 6 months and like revisit.
100%. Let's do it.
I jumped in there after 2 events.
Yes.
Of PowerUpTech. So number 3 in there.
The third is all about Buffalo.
Nice.
So we start the day off with a panel, folks who came to Buffalo for an opportunity. They weren't from here. They're not a boomerang. They didn't have, family here. They didn't marry into Buffalo, things like that. They saw an opportunity. They came here and decided to stay. And sharing those insights into why, which is helpful for those folks that are from Buffalo to, to get that outside perspective. And then for the folks that are not from Buffalo to be able to identify with someone who has made the choice to move here. Nice. So we want to give them that perspective. Then we send them on little field trips, throughout the region, based on those kind of interest areas that they have for, it's going back to that life part, that placemaking in Buffalo. But we do wrap a little bit of tech into it. So, for example, if you're really into kind of, nature, spending time outdoors, things like that, which we have a ton of in this region. We can't take it too far because we're, on a time limit here. We're not, we're not going to Letchworth, but we're going to go to Delaware Park. And we have, we're working on a partnership with Explore Buffalo and the Olmsted Park Systems, where they can explore Hoyt Lake, explore Delaware Park, like the different assets that area has, but also working with the Olmsted team to say like, hey, all these trees you see around you, all the maintenance that goes into, these parks, all of that is powered by tech. Oh. And like there are different softwares that they use to maintain the health of the trees and Making sure that there's a lot of like GIS in there. There's a lot of sustainability in there, but everything you're touching, tech also touches, and discover what that can mean for you.
Love that.
So small examples. We send them on these field trips. We bring them back for a big lunch with their supervisors, and everyone else who participated in their summer experience with them. We're calling it Beyond the Chicken Wings. Buffalo is more than just chicken wings and beef on weck. And have a progressive style lunch where they can really sample some small businesses that are really really creating Buffalo's awesome food scene.
Yeah.
And so that's the end cap to their summer. There are some additional kind of after hours optional programming that we have for them, different professional development things, different kind of like Buffalo field trips and stuff like that. But those 3 events are really the core of the program and in how we work to drive retention. And we're really intentional about how we measure that too. So the first year of students that went through it, last year at the June-ish, kind of beginning of the summer, we checked in with all of them and said, hey, what are you doing? Did the program work? Are you here? Or do you intend to be here if you haven't graduated yet? And the mark that we measure against is we have a 70% attrition rate for students that study tech locally and or have like a tech experience locally, and then they take those talents to other regions. We have from that first class, so smaller sample size, but 40% of those students, so 10% increase just in year 1, have indicated that they either did decide to stay in Buffalo for at least their first career experience, or they intend to return to Buffalo.
Awesome.
Which is great. This upcoming June, we will look at years 1 and year 2. By the end of this summer, we're going to have over 550 students that have been through this program just in 3 years.
Yeah. And that's a great sample size then to be able to
Yeah.
talk to those numbers, but also just thinking about the impact of people and the number of jobs that fills and the number of people that keeps around here.
Yeah.
The opportunities of businesses are trying to hire and like create opportunities and figure
Right.
out, hey, what kind of tech skills are out there in the workforce. What
Yeah.
can we bring into the business to think about some problems differently in ways that maybe, like the nonprofits and the Journey's End, for example, maybe companies who hadn't been thinking of tech as a way to solve some real big business problems.
Right.
Maybe they then make those opportunities and there's people there ready to fill them.
For sure. And, I think there's this flywheel effect too, right? The more talent that we have here, the more businesses we can bring to Western New York, which brings more talent, which brings more businesses. And so, if we're looking at tech skills as that catalyst for business growth, again, industry agnostic, like tech skills are
For sure.
Everywhere. We really, we really see, the seeds we plant in programs like PowerUpTech only are just kind of starting that flywheel. And, when we think 10 years down the line, we see a really big impact happening. And, I can even speak to, that's really also why we're starting earlier in that pipeline. We're thinking about that K-12 space. And so our first initiative there was through our Family Code Night program. Shout out to Rachel Eastlack, who designed that program. We are, the last 2 years, we've been in Microsoft TechSparks Fellows programs. A lot of organizations like TechBuffalo throughout the country. And so we represented New York State in this fellowship program, received a grant to use Microsoft Minecraft Education and get it out there. And how are we going to deliver that? So Rachel created this fantastic series called Family Code Night, which brings together one adult and one youth and, helps them discover basic block coding through Minecraft education, which the kids love Minecraft. So I'm,
Natural starting point.
Natural starting point.
Right.
So it makes it really relevant and really cool for them. What we've also discovered as a result of that program is one, high demand. Like there's a waiting list every single time, and we've served hundreds of kids and families in just the last 2 years. We also, through that discovered that there is there's a lack of mandated computer science education in our local school systems. I would say, in the research we've done, I'd say about 40%, maybe a little bit less, have it as an option.
Oh, wow. Just as an option.
As an option. Yeah, right. In other states, it's mandatory. Really is some of the foundational skill sets that they need to be successful in, again, any career. We are, from Family Code Night, bringing it to the teachers. And so we are going to be launching a Teacher Innovation Fellowship, which empowers, teachers. We're going to start out with 20 in this first year, which empowers teachers to bring the Family Code Night program to their schools and to their districts.
Okay.
We'll then do, 20 teachers our first year, 20 our second, 20 our third. We anticipate by the end of that third year to have reached 19,000 students. We can then take that information and we want to create policy with it. We want to go, to our state lawmakers and say, hey, this has been really impactful. This is how many students that we are able to get into the pipeline. We're also tying, clubs with this, that the teachers are going to run these programs, but they're also going to run Minecraft clubs, or some sort of tech club at their school to keep that learning going.
Mm-hmm.
We've identified this talent that is interested. We've identified this talent who has the aptitude to be really, really great. This is the opportunity to foster it. Here are the numbers behind it. We got to make this mandatory, for schools to have this. And so, really using Buffalo as a local example to take that statewide, which is really, really cool. So that's where we see, from a little family code night, right? To something really big. And so, when I talk about TechBuffalo really in this scale up stage, that's what I mean. We're getting into K-12 education. We're taking, the small pilots that we've had and really growing them. PowerUpTech, like we've gone from, 12 companies and 160 students to over 40 companies and 225 students, in those 3 years.
Yeah.
And we're even starting to look at like, how do we grow from here? So this fall for PowerUpTech, we are going to be initiating an alumni group, an alumni program that's really going to be powered by an alumni advisory board that's helping us to continue to build out this program, make sure it's still relevant. I am not cool. They have told me that I am not cool.
I'll have to have a word with some of those folks.
I like get it, right? Like I'm 10 years, almost 11 years out of college at this point. So fine, I get it, but I'm not cool. So they got to tell me what's cool, make sure it's still relevant. And they, we want, again, it's all about the sustainability. So they've had a great experience in PowerUpTech. How do we keep that going and make sure that they're retained long-term and that our companies have access to that top tech talent long-term, where they can come to us and say, hey, we need talent that specializes in this. And we can say, well, here's our alumni group. These are folks that, have been through an internship with a partner company. They've been through our PowerUpTech program and they are sustaining that engagement with each other. And it's a really great community. That's where you should start.
Yeah.
And then from there, also looking into building out a recruitment model where we do recruiting of bringing diverse top tech talent in from outside the region, and getting them connected to Buffalo, helping them see Buffalo as a top second tier city for tech, building a housing component in with that, and a lot of those things are in the exploratory stage. But, it, I think, speaks to the tipping point that we're at where this can really start to scale and grow. We've got the community to do it. And it's really exciting, in this new role, in this Director of Strategic Talent Initiatives role, to look and be able to say like, okay, wow, like we're really creating this K to Gray pipeline. And it's going to be, it has the potential to be so impactful for our community. And we just can't wait to see what 10 years down the line looks like.
K to Gray.
K to Gray.
That has to be the first time I've heard that. 100%.
Well, it won't be the last.
There we go. Just starting. There's so much there. And I want to ask Mary about like, what's rewarding for you in the work about like the interconnectedness of so many different like parts of the city and groups that TechBuffalo is connected to. You mentioned the housing component in there. And I think about like, as we're trying to bring tech talent here and stay here, like, yes, housing's a part of it because if we're going to get someone to move from somewhere else to Buffalo, they've got to have somewhere to live. And Zillow's had Buffalo as the biggest housing market, or the hottest housing market for 2 years in a row now.
Yeah.
Just because of affordability and people wanting to move here because there's great things happening here. But like those are all things that have to be conscious within the process.
Yeah.
As you're trying to get these things to happen. So what, what's been rewarding for you about just being able to work with so many different groups of people around Buffalo, just in terms of making these programs work?
Yeah. I mean, I think, personally, it goes back to that, that community aspect, right? And I think, there's the Voices of Vision event coming up, which will have happened by the time this, this podcast goes out. But I want to tie that in because, a lot of what that, event is going to talk about, hosted by the 43 North Foundation, is the community that's here. That, there really is this lightning strike moment where not only do you have the opportunity, but you have the tools and you have the community around you that's going to help initiatives like this grow and scale and really change what Buffalo looks like. And I really believe that. I mean, I left the region for about 6.5 years. I lived in a couple of different cities. I had great times in all of them, but it made a lot of sense at the time, like from a family perspective, for my husband and I to come back to Buffalo. And now that we're here, it's like, oh, this is like we are in this city at a very cool time, and like how rewarding to have been from here, to have experienced something else, and to come back to, again, this community, this opportunity, and the tools and the pieces that are there. Like, we just have to build it. And it's the talent that's going to build it, right? Like, it's not TechBuffalo. It's not, like it's not the companies themselves. Like, talent is everything. And you need to have that talent here, and that talent needs to have that community here and understand the value that they can provide to a region, to a role, to the community that comes after them, to be able to see this sustainable growth over time. And I think that's what I really love, right? Is that, we're breaking down silos and we are working together. And again, I left for a little bit, after college. So what I remember is not really a city super driven to work together in the way that I'm seeing now. Then again, I was like, 22. So what did I know then? But,
you'll learn a lot along the way, for sure.
For sure. But it feels really powerful to me. And I mean that. And I think that's like the most exciting thing. I think this Voices of Vision event is really going to continue to showcase what that community is, what that opportunity is, and, how do we make sure that like our emerging talent really sees Buffalo as the place, and how do we make it the place, the premier place? And that's a community effort. We cannot do that alone.
Yeah. That Voices of Vision series is really impactful. So I'll drop some stuff in the show notes here, but shout out to Aileron and Buffalo News and all the great groups.
Yeah, 43 North Foundation, Connolly, a lot of great,
amazing group, and definitely people want to stay in touch with that. But there's such a cool, even like just think about this building that we're in right now, Seneca 1, and think about that journey, like you were saying too, about our experience of like growing up here, going to school, going away, coming back. I went to college a couple years away and then came back here too.
Right.
Same kind of thing. But even thinking about the early 2010s, this building went vacant, was vacant for a long time.
Yeah.
Lots of change going on around the city, and then the building was still kind of vacant and came together. And now 2020, complete coincidence that like TechBuffalo was like starting to get formational and started right around then as the building reopened, and M&T moved in, and Lighthouse moved in, and TechBuffalo and 43 North and a couple other groups. And now 5 years later, like this is fully built out, like fully leased out. Even little things like Other Half Brewing downstairs is like opened up, and restaurants and coffee shops and all these things. And there's like, I always tell people like there's gravity around here.
Yeah.
Like there's events coming here. There's people coming here. Like think about even the phrase of calling it a tech hub.
Yeah.
Like it's the hub of a wheel that's at the center of the city, kind of. And then like there's people connecting out to all different parts of the city, whether it's, the North Towns, South Towns, East Side, West Side.
South Towns.
Yeah.
I'm a South Towns girl.
Well, I couldn't tell. But no, it's really interesting to look back and be like, okay, this is something that's becoming foundational for people who are in high school and college now.
Oh, yeah.
To look at and be like, okay, like this is the future. This is interesting. Like I want to explore this more and then get involved in the programs. And it's a really cool thing.
And we need to make sure that those students are seeing it, right?
Yes.
And even if you do decide to go to college or to go to school elsewhere, if you decide to not go a college route, we want to make sure that that talent has roots planted here so that they know that they can come back, they're welcome to come back, and we want them to come back.
100%.
And so if we don't plant those seeds now, while they're in elementary, middle school, high school, they don't know what they don't know, Never once in a million years as a kid did I ever think that I would be working at a tech nonprofit. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So, it's bringing those students then, seeing is believing. How do we get them into spaces like Seneca 1. My daughter's 1.5. You can relate to that toddler, that emerging toddler age.
Yeah.
But I bring her to as many events as I can. One, being a working parent, being a working mom is a reality. And there's no reason why, if you're doing work that's deeply meaningful to you and that, more or less is incorporated into your life, like bring your kid and show them what that's about. So I bring her to, events and dinners and happy hours and things all the time because I want her to see, even, before her prefrontal cortex is developed, I want her to start to see and understand, here's what could be. And that's just a part of her life, is seeing the opportunity and believing that she can do it. And, hopefully believing that she can do it here.
Mm-hmm. And then 20 years from now, imagine where this place might be.
You don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. It's really cool to think about. My parents both worked in this building when it was HSBC.
Same, my dad did too.
Oh my gosh, were they friends?
Maybe.
We should find out. We should do a deep dive on that later.
I've really talked to a lot of people about that too, that like there's a big like second generation of Seneca oneers like all over here. And I'm going to jot that down.
We write that down. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a good podcast idea, before and after.
But actually, there's a lot of there is something there to just seeing the opportunity, right? It's like the first thing I tell people about Buffalo, and like I know I say we, but like people in the region have said, like, if only we could get people here, like they'd see what makes this place so special. Same goes for Seneca 1, and like if only we could get people here, like let's do the things that get the people here and get them involved in seeing it. And, even if it starts that young, whether it's bringing your daughter to an event, or I know like take your kid to work day was just a couple weeks ago, and lots of kids doing that.
Oh my gosh, I saw so many kids in the lobby. See, my daughter would not last a full day, but try again in a couple of years.
Someday. But like those things are formative experiences.
They really are.
That makes a difference. And we're talking about the roots and like the professional roots in Buffalo. Like those things matter in the big picture.
And especially those kids who don't have a parent who works in tech, right? Or who are not, who don't have a parent that comes downtown or goes to an office building every day, who are doing just other types of work. We want students to have the full scope of possibilities. And the only, again, seeing is believing, the only way that you understand what that full scope looks like is by having, the community that gives you and the exposure, to do so. And
then meeting people where they're at, right? Like Minecraft and Family Code Night, like that's something that so many kids play and engage with, or like even want to, like if they haven't gotten the opportunity to, like it's super user friendly to like pick up and things like that.
Right. And especially for a kid, I mean, they can bebop around Minecraft faster. I tried to do it and I was like, what is happening? And then, there's a 7-year-old next to me like, I'm like, okay. I promise that I am also in tech.
Oh, man. All right. Next podcast episode is all about Minecraft.
I'm in.
Tips and practices.
Love it. We'll bring the 7-year-olds to do it, though, right? Yeah.
Perfect. We'll have some interns.
Right. Perfect. Yeah.
Anything I didn't ask you about that you wanted to talk about? What's cool? What's coming up?
Oh, I don't think so. I think, we could kind of talk all day about, some things on the horizon. I think we should have like a post summer, right?
Yes.
Like a post PowerUpTech. Only other thing I would mention as we talk about, again, that like kind of K to gray. One of the really cool things that we've coming up this summer is a half-day conference called Tech Connect. And that is for local nonprofits who are, who maybe don't have that kind of tech acumen or those tech resources to come and learn about Microsoft and AI resources, many of which are free or reduced cost for nonprofits, and having experts from Microsoft and, from the community come in and teach the nonprofit community here how to leverage those resources. So we're creating that conference agenda right now. So it'll be mid-July, subscribe to our newsletter, check back in with us, drop it in the show notes. But if you work for a nonprofit and, everyone is strapped for capacity, right? Like nonprofits are always lean and mean.
Yes.
Here's how to supercharge that with some really practical tools that are accessible. So starting to break down some of those barriers, because again, tech is everywhere. Doesn't matter what you're doing. It's a skill, a necessary skill.
You want to do some fun, got some little rapid fire questions here.
Okay.
Some fun things to wrap it up.
Okay, I'm ready. All right.
They're
I'm scared.
They're super casual.
Okay.
You're gonna get 100% no matter how you answer.
Okay. Perfect.
This is called the hero's journey. It's our little end segment of
Okay.
like all the things that made Mary that you are today, and those kinds of things. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Cool. First question: what were some of your interests as a kid?
Ooh. Okay. The very first thing I wanted to be as a kid was an art teacher or an artist. I just
Nice.
I loved art. I got this really cool art set for Christmas one year and a couple of sketchbooks, and it was always my favorite class. It was great. The second thing I wanted to be was on Broadway,
Yeah.
a performer, and then I'm not really a competitive person, so that was not going to work out for me. Also, I wasn't very good, so that was not going to work out for me. But like really the arts, like, music, theater, like a lot of the creative stuff, I truthfully could not code, and like kind of the hard sciences and the math and that stuff was not for me. But like, that creativity still very much bleeds its way into the work I do today.
100% creativity and how you're connecting people and
Yep.
creating opportunities. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. What was your first job?
My very first job was I worked at the tanning bed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Can you tell?
Service.
I worked at the tanning bed. I was there for like 5 months. It was very much a first job, right? I would say like the first job that taught me a lot was, like most kids in Western New York, I worked at Wegmans for a period of time.
Mhm.
I think you did too, right? No?
Subway.
You worked at
I
Subway.
was a sandwich
Okay.
artist.
Wow.
I still have the visor tucked away somewhere.
Wow.
Maybe.
That's like a great Halloween costume. So yeah, I worked at Wegmans for 4 years in the create a cake section, which kind of brought that art stuff back out, right?
Yeah, I
I
love
got to
that.
decorate cakes, and over the pandemic I had my own little small business too, and decorating cakes, and so
Nice.
that art kind of came back.
We might need like a tech industry art night or something like that.
I love that.
Unplug from everything and
Oh yeah.
do something on tech
Yeah.
with all the tech people.
Right.
That'd be fun.
I love it.
What do we got next here? What inspires you most about the work you do?
I think the vision, I'm really fortunate to work with a team of people that have vision, and it's super inspiring to be around every day, right? Even on the days where like you're told no a lot. And I think being in the tech space, being in the entrepreneurial space, like you get 99 no's before you get one yes. And so being surrounded by people that have that forward thinking vision, I mean, that's what keeps me motivated.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's good energy when you get your team together.
Yeah.
For sure. Next question. What's that one thing you want to accomplish? What's a big goal you got right now? Could be personal or professional.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think, a goal professionally, I mean, I just kind of reached a goal that I had, being able to do more than just the talent stuff. I was, when there became an opportunity to dive into the K-12 stuff and, kind of the post-college stuff, I was like, oh wow, how cool would it be to like oversee what that journey looks like. And, I'm now very privileged to get the chance to do that. So I feel like I don't have another goal yet because I just achieved one that was really, important.
Love that.
So, and then, personally, I think I just would, I just want to keep being the best mom I can be. My daughter is super important to me. My husband, my family is super important. And I feel like every day is a new opportunity to relearn how to parent, because these little ones are just changing every single day. So, sometimes the goal is just to get through the day. Like how with a toddler, it's like, we're just going to make it.
Mhm.
Now that summer is here and parenting can move outside, I'm very excited for that.
Help. Yep.
Yes. It's like the reset button, taking your kid outside.
Yeah.
Just get a breath of fresh air. They're
Yeah.
like, okay.
Earlier this week, we had a day that was 70 and
Yep.
sunny and no breeze. And it happens like 10 days a year. And I'm like, just need to bottle this up. My goal is to make it to another one of those days.
Right. Right.
We'll be there soon.
Right.
We'll be there soon.
And there's nothing wrong with being on I'm on a
Yeah.
24-hour schedule with my goals and just getting through this day to get to the next. And that keeps you present, right? That's
Yes.
mindfulness, if you
Yeah.
ask me. That's my
That
brand of
is
mindfulness.
100%. Yeah. 10-year goals and 1-day goals. And
Right.
stack it up.
Right.
100%. And then last one too. What advice do you have for people who want to build a career doing this work? We talked a lot about advice for like people who want to break into tech in Buffalo.
Mhm.
What about people who might be interested in like some of the community building talent? That kind of work you do?
Yeah, I would say, I think like if you were to generally classify my work, it would be somewhere between education and workforce development, right? Um, I think, what I would say to folks who are interested in this work, and I would say like most people like don't go into the career being like, oh, you know what is awesome? Workforce development. I love it. Like I didn't know it was a thing, really until, I was a couple jobs into my professional career. I mean, my
Sure.
master's degree is in higher education. And so for me, that was like student affairs and working on campus, being an academic advisor and a career coach and things like that. And with TechBuffalo really is where I saw the translation of like, oh, here's how these skills can be meaningful in this other area.
Mhm.
And so I would say, like if you're looking to get into this work, or even if you're not, I would say like, just generally be open to the opportunities that present themselves to you. Um, and don't be afraid to pivot. Again, you're going to get those 99 no's before you get that one yes. So if you have an idea, if you have something that you want to do, look and it's not turning out exactly what you thought, that's okay. Gather feedback, you know, take it in and then pivot where you need to. Like being
Yep.
there is no in my opinion, I think there is probably no more valuable skill than being flexible, agile, being able to pivot and then being able to communicate.
Love that. I also
Yeah.
forgot we both worked in schools too.
Yeah.
Into tech
Sure did.
and totally didn't even talk about that, but just being open to opportunity.
Yeah.
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 100%. Cool.
And it's okay to change your mind. I changed my major 5 times in college.
Twice.
Yeah. You
Twice
you
here.
changed it twice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have a grad degree that I don't use anymore. But
Well, there you go. Isn't that how it always goes?
we're off the rails. That's the end of the show here. Cool. Mary, thanks so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much. Yeah.
This was fun.
Super fun.
3, 2, 1. We're back for another fun segment here at the end of Level Up with Lighthouse. Got my friend Brenda with me. Brenda says, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Good. Yeah. We just had a great talk with Mary from TechBuffalo about strategic talent initiatives in Buffalo, talent attraction and retention. And like that's literally like your life's work.
Yes.
Basically, and like all that you do here at Lighthouse. Like tell us about your role, because you also kind of got a promotion to lead one of our teams
Sure.
internally here. So just like tell us a little bit about your role.
Yeah. So I do lead our talent management services vertical here at Lighthouse, which encompasses a whole bunch of things, but mainly it's a focus on our recruiting team and providing those staffing and services to all of our clients, really.
Cool.
We do a little bit of, it's mostly in tech and some in the non-tech space, but focusing in on some AI initiatives and recruiting and sourcing and all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the day in the life segment, kind of. I know, obviously, no 2 days are the same. That's kind of like the bit when you're talking about like services work and things
Yep.
like that. But had thought to have you on and just kind of best guess what's a day in the life of someone running a talent services recruiting division look like.
Yeah, well, I am an early riser, so 5 a.m. definitely like this dangerously large cup of coffee starts my day. I usually open up my inbox first with my coffee and kind of go through there, and it's like, bam, you're hit with 147 emails that you kind of have to peruse through and see which ones are your priorities, and make sure that all the calendar invites are out there, and
Yep.
maybe go through like a passive aggressive message from a candidate or hiring manager.
I'm sure like 27 of those emails have the exclamation point for
Yes.
high importance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sometimes there's the last minute like emergency reschedule, those kinds of things you want to do first thing in the
Yeah.
morning, and then I really just kind of dive into the resumes, and some are great and some are creative, and those kinds of things, and then of course being a recruiter, you're not really just looking for like the keywords, which sometimes people see recruiter and they think, oh, they're just scanning a resume for keywords. It's really like you're looking for the story of that person who's applying for the job, and what's that candidate's journey, and do their skills really align with the roles that the hiring managers are looking for, and are there any red flags that you're kind of looking for, and those types of things, and then of course finding the hidden gem that the hiring manager is really looking for. So
Love that.
that's really it. And then I head into the office where I actually kind of start the real part of my day and that kind of thing. I I typically try to use that commute time in the mornings as a continuous learning kind of thing. So Joe and I were talking a little bit earlier, but really just recently, my friend Steve Levy recommended a book to me called Talk Tech to Me by Brian Fink. So I've been listening to that in the morning commute.
Nice.
Gives me a
audiobook or podcast?
It's an audiobook. Yep.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Yep. And right
like
now
that.
it's free on Audible. So I'm taking advantage of that and using the time wisely on my way into the office.
There we go. Nice.
Yep. So fun stuff. And then we get here and the team's here and we start our daily stand-ups where we would just kind of review like the priorities for the day, talk about any hiccups or challenges that are coming down the pipeline, and really just celebrate some of our wins, but also like give us a little pep talk to get this today started. So,
yeah, love it. And then a mishmash of calls and screens and client meetings and all that fun stuff.
That's the midday mayhem.
Calendar stays pretty full.
Yeah, that's definitely very full for sure.
What's the average on cups of coffee throughout that day?
Well, right now I'm on my fourth cup of coffee and it's 11 a.m. So
nice. There we go.
So if you see a recruiter out there, just give them a quick high five and maybe a cup of coffee.
Now accepting coffee sponsors at Lighthouse Technology Services.
That's right.
Quick shout out.
Every day.
Love it. Good stuff.
We love it.
Yeah.
So midday is really just day in the life is kind of sourcing and reaching out to candidates and if you want to understand that a little bit more, it's like kind of one of those things where you're like, please talk to me when you find that unicorn that you want to chat with. So finding the right type of outreach to folks to get them actually interested in having that conversation with you, and then scheduling the screen to talk to them, get the interview. And it's more about more than just tell me about yourself. It's like you want to dive a little bit deeper into their technical skill and things like that. Yeah. And sometimes it's a remote life right now, so we do a lot of video screening. Actually, all of ours are done by video, but you'll see like an occasional cat run across the screen or something like that, which makes your day kind of fun.
Love it.
But yeah. And not only that, recruiters not just talking to the candidate, they're selling the client. So, sometimes that's an easy thing. I'll go out and visit a client site and get to know them a little bit better. And you might have the luxury resort of one of my clients that I'm thinking of right now, which gives everything, right? Like breakfast, lunch, and dinner's provided. And then you have one where they might not have watered their plants since 2022. And you still have to sell those to, the candidates to make sure that it's the right fit from both sides. And that's kind of part of the day too.
Yeah.
It's
a great people job, and very like just knowing you for a while here. You've been at Lighthouse for what, 7 years now?
7 years.
Just at the anniversary.
Yes, I sure did.
So it's a lot. You see a lot. You'll meet a lot of people, and that experience goes a long way, I bet.
Yeah, it's more than just being a recruiter, right? You're a career coach. You're a part-time brand ambassador, which Joe is helping me with, by the way, guys. So, there's different things that you have to do throughout the day besides just wearing the recruiter hat. So,
love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was fun. Thanks for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It was really great.
Thanks to Mary and Brenda for coming on the show today. Had a ton of fun. What really stood out to me is the principle of people as place building, right? This notion that the people that you find are the ones who make your experience special. They're the ones that you build your career with. They're the ones that you build friendships and partnerships and businesses with. And really that makes a huge difference. And where that starts is so early in your career, right? Like Mary talked about the PowerUpTech program this summer, and thinking about how that creates opportunities for students to really build those formative partnerships that they'll carry with them throughout their entire career. And how can you give people exposure to technology skills and things like that in the K-12 era before they get to college, and kind of help shape their career path and things like that. Show them all the things that are available in tech as well, not just tech jobs, but tech-enabled, tech-aligned, all these different roles that contribute to this great tech community, and show people what's possible. So really, really enjoyed that conversation. If you want to learn more about TechBuffalo, we'll leave some information in the show notes. Come on back on June 3rd for our next episode. I'm really excited to have 2 more friends of mine come on and talk about project management for non-project managers. I think it's a really interesting role that's pivotal in terms of using technology to help move your business forward, but thinking about how do projects get done? How do you keep all the different stakeholders involved? How do you make these things work, big picture? So I'm excited to bring in Pauline McEwen, a friend of ours who we met at a TechBuffalo event earlier this spring to talk about some project management aspects. And then Mark Rizzo from our IT services team here at Lighthouse is going to come and join us as well to talk about what some of those principles look like inside and how they operate. So looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.